Hello, Coppell Band family and friends. This is Mr. Miller. We'll be walking through the new member meeting. This meeting was originally held on Monday, May the 10th, 2021 at 7 p.m. in the band hall and also on Zoom. We just wanted to walk you back through it, see if there was anything you missed. At the original meeting, Ms. Klontz and I talked through everything, and we're joined by Ms. Shuttlesworth. In today's recorded version, it'll just be me, so apologize in advance. You're going to hear a lot from me. Here we go. We're going to first begin by introducing everyone in our new member guide to the instructional staff. Ms. Shuttlesworth, as you heard me mention, is our new director of bands as I move up to the fine arts position for the district. You can find her phone number and email there. As well, Mr. Caswell and Mr. Slovak assist here at the high school. Very many of your students are freshmen, and we'll be dealing with Ms. Klontz over at CHS 9. There's her at the top right side. If you have a percussionist, they already know Ms. Chernow and Mr. Wynn. And then if you have a color guard performer, you've likely already met Mr. Rummel. I always take the opportunity to share here early in the year that if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to one of us. It is far more effective to reach through us than to begin reaching out to principals, assistant principals, people at the admin building. If you have a problem, please reach out to us. You'll find that we're very transparent. We're very willing to work with and talk to you. But you know, by the same, when you're pleased with something, when something's going really well for your child, much as we enjoy hearing it, share those with somebody, share those with some of our elected officials, share those with our board members, share that with our upper admin team. As you'd imagine, they deal with some of the more challenging circumstances in our school district, and so positive news is always a welcome addition to their day. Let's talk a little bit about enrollment and advocacy. Currently, for 2020-2021, we enrolled about 460 students in the program. Going forward, we're probably closer to 485, 490 right now. Of those, 265 will perform with the varsity marching band, 225 will perform with the JV marching band. The program consists of 7 concert bands. Many of your middle schools have 2 or 3, but obviously once everybody combines together, we have 7 concert bands. CHS has 5 of those concert bands, and CHS 9 has 2 of those concert bands. If your student is aiming for top rank placement, which is something that we hear from a lot of our students coming in, that they and their parents have expectations of a top 5, 7, or 10% placement. Just as a quick statistic I can share with you, and I'll share some more about this here in a moment. 24 of the top 5%, I have 2018 statistics in here, but I could pretty much use any year because they're all very similar. 24 or 46 of the graduates were in band. Band is the leading organization when it comes to placement in these top percentages. It's the same as you expand to the top 7% and the top 10%. And our students really excel as they move on into the collegiate ranks. One of the things I want to share with you as you move into high school is that over 60% of students in that top 5% ranking have a major activity. And I say this because we often hear students say that maybe they're thinking about their future in band or athletics for that matter, and saying, well, I'm just going to focus on straight academics once I get to be a junior or once this point. And that's a very, very dangerous paradigm to live in. So I want to share with you something. What happens when you make decisions like that is that your choice of colleges alters quite a bit. If you look on the major activity side, the left side of the screen as you see it, those are all the choices that students with a major activity were able to select from when it came time to choose their future. On the right-hand side is those without a major activity. Now, there's prestigious universities on either side of the column. No one would argue that. But when you look at the major activity side, you see that having your student be a 4-year member of an organization like the band program, like I would say the same for choir or theater, I would say the same for dance programs and our athletic programs, but participating for the full 4 years opens up windows to your child, opens up opportunities and interviews and experiences that they're not going to have any other way. And so when you're listening to the presentation tonight and realizing that band does take some bit of sacrifice, it's my hope that you walk away from it going, this is absolutely worth it, because I know that it's not necessarily about majoring in music. It's not about spending the rest of their life in music. We know that only 10% of our kids will do that. 90% of them will go off into varied fields, and as they do so, we want to make sure that they set themselves up for the highest amount of success possible going forward. Let's talk a little bit about what the summer schedule looks like. I'm going to dive into percussion and color guard first because they have camps that flow right out the back of school. You can see that there's a May camp for percussion, May 24th through 29th. The times vary because obviously we're kind of finishing up school that week and graduations and everything else. So go ahead and take a look at the website for those details. The color guard camps run that next week, June 1 through 4. It's 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. with a lunch break each day, and Mr. Rummel has detailed all of those on the website for color guard as well. Note as well that he has some guard maintenance rehearsals on Tuesdays and Thursdays through mid-June into July. His statement on that would be, if you're in town, we'd like to have your child there. It's a good chance, and I'll talk about this a couple times tonight, but it's a good chance to get our kids away from the screen, to get them out from behind the computer, out from behind the phone, and to do something that's safe, but also do something that is physical. So it's really a win-win. So as we tell parents, come drop your kid off, and then you go on a date, go do something fun as a parent, and let them kind of be a kid, and certainly where they're going to have to rediscover that a little bit as we get into this year. Now I'm getting into the late summer. So from that week you saw where June ended all the way through to July, the students are off. We start back up with color guard on the week of the 21st of July. And there's a 10 to 5 camp with a break for lunch. And that runs 21, 2, 3, and then 6, 7. And then our percussion team is back on the 26th. Similar schedule, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. with a break from 1 to 2. That is for both JV and varsity percussion running through those dates. So I want to share a little bit as I dive into mandatory summer band. Both the JV and varsity marching bands attended. While the hours may vary, we generally like to work from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The dates are found on our website, and they're very detailed. I'm going to review them with you here in a second. But, the website is the most comprehensive place to find all the details that you need. And I'm going to talk a little bit about band registration in a moment. Band registration is really important. And every year I feel like we'll have a few students who, for whatever reason, don't get into band registration, don't come that day, and we end up having to track them down. And I feel like those are the students who all year long, when we're handing out equipment, they're like, oh, mine's not in here. Well, we didn't get your order, or your order didn't get in until late. It's so critical that you block this day in the calendar as we take care of it. We also need you as parents to fill out some forms for us to take care of setting up fees and all that. And again, we'll be talking about that here in the next little bit. Fundamentals Camp begins on the 28th. This is for everybody, every woodwind, every brass player. As you saw, the percussion and the guard camps overlap with this. So this is pretty much everybody, all hands on deck. From 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., the 28th, the 29th, and the 30th. We break for lunch from 12 to 1 each of those days. During those days, it's generally pretty hot outside. We'll spend the mornings outside. And once the sun's just coming up around noon and it's starting to get warm, we'll head inside. The afternoons are generally taking place inside. We're going to be very careful as we kind of resume normal activities with social distancing and getting some good big spaces for our students to work. They work in small groups with a teacher, and we'll spread them out pretty far. So that they can get that accomplished. Then we start, really the bulk of summer band is right here. UIL has a start date for us of August the 1st. It's been the same since about 1979. And so August the 1st is when you start learning your music and learning your drill. And if you're a parent who grew up in Texas, you're very familiar with this. And so starting on August the 2nd, because August the 1st happens to be a Sunday this year, we're going to do 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I'll share a little more about what that schedule looks like here in a moment, Monday through Friday. There's that registration I was talking about. Save the date, put it in your calendar for Saturday, August the 7th. It runs from 10 to 3. Now, you'll only be here for about 30 or 45 minutes, and we're going to give you assigned slots, so it'll be like freshman last names A through L, freshman last names M through Z. Again, if you can't make your exact time slot, we can work with you on that. But it's so important that you are here that day, that you come through that day, because the students who don't come through that day, it is a stressful year. I feel like all year long, we're just finding things that didn't get done correctly. We do meet for summer band that evening. You see that's kind of a late block from 5 to 9 there. Summer band continues this next week, but notice that it's not as early. It doesn't start up until about 5 o'clock. The teachers are doing in-service stuff, so that's why that looks like that. And that's 5 to 9 p.m. that next Monday through Friday. We do have a Saturday rehearsal on the 14th, and JV has a Saturday rehearsal as well. You'll notice the JV one ends a little earlier than the varsity one. Lastly, the Monday before school starts, we do one last big block day before we dive into the school year, starting on the 17th. Staying chronologically, we'll have a normal practice week, and I'll talk to you about that schedule in a moment. And then on the 20th, we have a band social. We've been doing that at Hawaiian Falls over in the Colony for many years. It's a great event and a chance for our students to get together. and have some fun. And I'll say, we've had a year of a lot of isolation. And so pulling our students and finding safe ways to put them back together in outdoor environments. And there's so much great research out there that shows that outdoor environments are really the safest way to gather. But putting students in safe circumstances to gather outdoors, this is going to be pivotal for us as parents. I'll share personally, I have a freshman, or a rising freshman, an 8th grader about to be a freshman. And one of both my wife and I's critical concerns is getting him around other students and getting him in safe environments where he can just kind of reemerge in that socialization process that I think is so critical for all of our children right now. We have one more Saturday rehearsal. It's on the 28th. And I did want to mention UIL, if those of you who've been around a long time know that UIL used to say first day of school, but with the advent of Districts of Innovation several years ago, they gave us a little more leeway to do some Saturday rehearsals. And so that's what you see there in that 1 to 9. The reason it doesn't start until 1 o'clock is because that is an SAT test day for our older kids. I will mention to you while I'm talking about SAT testing, as you're beginning to think about testing for your child and so getting to that age, and some of our students I know take an early test freshman or sophomore year, take a look on our website and you're going to find the list of SAT and ACT test dates. And that will allow you to select one that does not conflict with band activities. And that list is always up there. So you can find it, year round. It's always right there at the top because we know it comes up and you're like, I got to schedule that. Let me make sure that I'm not scheduling a test that conflicts with other things that are coming up on my child's calendar. So that list is already up for 21-22. And we usually post it well in advance, 18 months or so in advance. We do have a premiere of the show on the 21st here at the stadium here at Coppell High School. We hope you'll join us on that. It's another good save the date. It's August the 21st at 8 p.m. here in the stadium. So come on out and check that out. So let's talk about what does a summer band day look like. For the most part, the staff arrives at about 7 a.m. So if you're somebody who has to get to work early or that works for you, you're welcome to drop your child off, and we're happy to have them. We'll probably put them to work and have them help us do some stuff, but that's good. The leadership students arrive at 7:30, and we start the marching rehearsal at 8. We generally start outside. If we need to move inside, we have the indoor 100-yard field here at Coppell, but for the most part, we'll do those outside, and we break for lunch, 90-minute lunch starting at noon. Most students eat here in the cafeteria. It's a very safe space to eat. There's lots of room. The cafeteria can easily accommodate 1,000 people during normal times, so it is no problem to accommodate the 480, 500 or so people that are breaking for lunch then. We start section rehearsals at 1:30, and we use different large spaces in classrooms around. We'll break JV flutes here and varsity flutes there, and JV clarinets here, and they work with a teacher during that time. They have about a 2-hour block. Starting at 3:30, we all gather. We've traditionally used the auditorium. We could also use a gym, just kind of seeing where things are safety-wise as we get into that. Our auditorium seats about 800, so it would still be a little more than 50% capacity if we were to put everybody in. And we do a group discussion. We talk about leadership. We talk about what it is to be a member of an organization like ours. We discuss grades and what their responsibilities are like and how they're to behave and how they're to act. And, it's our hope that what we're talking about are the very same things that they're hearing from mom and dad at home to help reinforce the things that we all know and want and expect from our kids. We go back at 5 o'clock for a full ensemble rehearsal, and I'll tell you the hottest moment, or that like 5 to about 5:15, 5:20 until that sun starts to set. It's a little hot out there, but it's good. I mean, they need to acclimate a little bit. They need to be ready for that day that could be that warm, but again, we'll go 5 to 8 and then dismiss at 8. Now, when I say dismiss at 8, I mean like that's when they walk away from the block. They may still have a couple more things to do. They may check in with their section leader. They may need to go get something out of the band hall, what have you. I would tell parents, like, arriving at 8 o'clock, they're not going to be ready. You're just going to get frustrated. 8:15, probably 15 minutes after dismissal is a little bit more reasonable for them to gather all their stuff and get to your car. Of course, you're always welcome to come out and watch the ends of rehearsals and see things. That's usually where you're going to see the most amount of excitement. And then our leadership team dismisses at 8:30. What should I wear? Most of our kids are prepared on their attire here, but just to say, light colored t-shirts, gym shorts, no heavy shorts with lots of pockets and stuff. Good socks are important, and good athletic shoes are important. A lot of our kids don't wear hats as much anymore, just like casually in public. What I'll say is that a hat during summer band, keeping that sun off your head, boy, can that save you. A hat or a visor is a real good choice. And so if your kid's not normally a hat wearer, you may want to have that discussion about, hey, buddy, you're going to be out in the sun a lot. You may want to get a hat. Sunglasses as well. I find a lot of our kids don't wear sunglasses, and especially for the mornings, that sun rises in the east right over the top of our stadium. And so it hits you right in the face at about 9:15, 9:30. So they're going to be looking into the sun. It's healthier for their eyes. Their eye doctor would certainly implore you to have sunglasses. And certainly it's better for them to have. You don't need to get anything expensive, but I would definitely have some sunglasses to use. Last is sunscreen. Boy, summer band is uncomfortable when you don't wear sunscreen, because that next day is just awful and it gets worse from there. So really be diligent. We pause during the blocks to give them time to re-up on their sunscreen. Like, they need to be careful about that. They're also going to bring their instrument, water jug. I generally like those 1-quart water jugs. The little, like, the Nalgene bottles or the metal, kind of hydro flask, those are no good. Those are way too small. That would be fine if you're just sitting inside and going to class. You need a good big water bottle. So you can look on Amazon. You can go to local Walmart, CVS, Target, Walgreens, what have you. They're all going to have them for sale during the summer, and they're all very inexpensive. You can put stickers and decorate it or paint it on. It doesn't matter to me. But just have a large water jug, because you know what happens if you don't? When we are taking that water break and you're out of water, rather than getting to take a water break, you have to sprint to the stadium, fill up your little tiny water bottle, and sprint back to the field. So hear me as I say this: get a big water bottle, or you're going to hear from us in the middle of summer band that you need to call your mom, and she needs to go buy you a big water bottle and bring it up to you right now, because you're not going to make it through summer band without a good water bottle. You'll have your music with you every day, and I generally say those little drawstring backpacks are great for students to have a way to carry their stuff to and from, and just be able to organize everything. Let's talk about once we start school and what does that look like. So there are JV and varsity kind of marching band tracks, kind of educational tracks. And 90% of our freshmen are going to start out in JV, and 10% are going to start in varsity. So I'm going to address both, but spend a little more time with JV. With JV marching band, we rehearse 3 mornings a week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We attend 4 football games, not all 10 of the Fridays. We attend 2 Saturday competitions, plus we do UIL region, which is on a Tuesday. And I think we as a staff, and certainly our students, all believe that JV is the best way for 9th graders to transition into high school band. After a year of acclimation, students can audition to move up into varsity, or they can remain in JV for as long as they like, all the way up through their senior year, if that's what they would like to do. The JV practice schedule looks like this. We meet on the CHS band field from 7:45 to 9:45 a.m., 3 mornings a week. Now, the school day starts at 8:40, 8:50, so if you're like, well, how does that work? They're all scheduled in that first period class. And then the next class doesn't start till 10:30. So at 9:45 when we break, we have a line of buses, and those buses take students to New Tech. Those buses take students to CHS 9, and obviously our CHS students will walk right in and go from there. So you see that I have Mondays on there every once in a while. I think once or twice a season we'll do a Monday in the stadium just to get ready for a contest. So that's more just checking the calendar to see when those come up. But I did want to mention that those are very occasionally coming up. But Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, as a parent, all you do in the morning is drop your kid off at CHS at the band field, which is back by the tennis courts, back by the stadium. You'll drop them off with all their stuff, and then they're good for the day. You don't have to give them another ride to anything. They're going to catch the bus from CHS over to 9 or over to New Tech, and they'll be just fine. The varsity marching band rehearses 3 afternoons plus 1 evening. It's about 8 hours of rehearsal outside of the school day. The varsity attends 7 football games. The varsity attends 5, really it's more like 6 this year, Saturday contest, plus UIL region. The varsity is one of the top 40 marching band programs in the United States. Freshmen can transition for varsity. We just want to remind you that you should be prepared. It is a lot. On Mondays, we're at the stadium from 5 to 8. Tuesdays, we're on the band field. Wednesdays is what we call a project block, so as needed, we'll rehearse with students. Thursdays, we're on the band field, and then Fridays, we either have a performance or we're off. We do strictly adhere to the UIL 8-hour and make sure that everything aligns exactly for that to ensure that we are well within the rules of the process. A couple of questions I get. Why do we sign up for 2 band classes? Well, with 2 band classes, you're getting both your fine arts and your PE credit. So you're kind of doubling up. I mean, if not, you would be in another class and PE anyway. And so for the first couple of years that you're with us, you're satisfying both your fine arts and your PE credit at the same time through being in band, which we think is great and an awesome way to do that. Some students will sometimes look at the schedule and ask about, well, could we take concert band but not marching band? What we offer here in Coppell is a full program. It's based on a 40-week arc of curriculum where students learn important skills through movement and marching, as well as through music making. Just like you couldn't say, well, I don't want to go to the first 9 weeks of biology because I already know that and it's not very interesting to me, but I'm going to go to the second, third, and fourth 9 weeks of biology. That's not how it works. It's a full program that works you through the entire arc of everything that we do. And I promise the schedule is really easy. It looks daunting right now, but once you get into it, it's really fine. The school schedule so we talked about the summer schedule. What does it look like during the school day? Well, for the most part, the staff arrives at about 7:15, and the JV leadership 7:45, and that's right when our JV rehearsal begins. Sometimes leadership will be a little earlier than that. We have the students just continue rehearsing through the school day, and at 9:45, JV rehearsal ends, and students catch the bus over to New Tech or to 9, and then the rest of the day, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, or 6th, 7th, and 8th on the B days, they're just in their regular classes. They go to regular class like every other student. They can take the bus home. Whatever they need to do. What about Mondays and Tuesdays? Well, Mondays and Tuesdays, they can even take the bus to school because they're just going to go right to CHS 9 for the start of the day. Now, if you have a new techer, they do need to start the day at CHS 9, but there are ways to do that, and we can talk about that as we get further in. If you have a student who is in varsity, I kind of wanted to spell this out for you as well because it does hit our color guard, percussion, as well as some of our wind players, is that the JV rehearses in the morning. The varsity activities really don't start until 10:30, but in reality, 12:45 is the first time most of our freshmen would ever come over to our campus. And so if you happen to be a freshman in varsity, you'll catch a bus at CHS 9 right before noon, and you'll come over here and eat your lunch. And then you'll go to band class, and then at the end of band class, we'll get you out a little bit early, and you'll hop back on the bus, go back to CHS 9 or New Tech for your 4th and 8th period class, and then you'll come back at the end of the day if we have marching rehearsal after school. And again, you saw that schedule from before. So it's a little bit more to think about. You're going to spend a little bit more time on a bus, but that's what the schedule is with the 9th grade center and New Tech and how all of that integrates. So, Mr. Miller, what's the schedule look like? Now, all of this is like a whole lot of information. Everything here is posted online, so you don't need to feel like you have to write all this down really quickly. It's all on our calendar page. If you're a Google Calendar person, it's probably the easiest way to get it, and you can export it from there. You can actually take that Google Calendar, and with that link, you can plant it into your own Google Calendar, and you can see everything you need. But these are all events off what is called the Coppell Band Calendar. It's the one that's highlighted in red on the website. And so on this one, you can see we have some football games. The first 3 are covered by varsity. That's the Saxe game, the Prestonwood Christian Academy game, and the Highland Park game. There's a bye week before we start district play. For my drumline parents, the ATB drumline contest is right there. And then you can see on the 24th, we're back with our first district game and homecoming. That's the JV and the varsity both performing together, spelling out Coppell in the field. That's here at home. That's a great game. The next day is the Plano Drumline Contest. The dance will be that night. Don't worry. I'm sure Ms. Chernow and Mr. Wynn have plans to make sure that you can get to the dance. So we'll probably perform earlier in the day at Plano, and that is A-OK. We play Plano West at Clark Stadium on the 1st, and then the HEB Marching Contest, as well as a marching contest for the JV, fall in the 2nd. Usually October is we jokingly call it Bandtober. October is the month where there's just a lot of band stuff going on. And so JV and varsity will both have their first contest that first Saturday in October. The varsity's at Pennington, and with JV, we're still making some decisions about the best route for them, but that's where we are there. Moving on to the next page, the JV is going to be doing their first football game at the Marcus game, and it's at Marcus High School. The varsity has the Dallas Regional the next day at Pennington Field. Pennington Field is over in Hurst Euless Bedford ISD. We have UIL Region Marching. That's a strange one. It's on Tuesday, the 12th. It's on a Tuesday evening over in Birdville, so we hope you can come check that one out. We have the Hebron game. The varsity's covering that one, and the JV has a contest on the 16th. Again, we'll release that location as we get that locked in. The 22nd, the JV covers the Louisville game because the varsity is in St. Louis for the Bands of America St. Louis Super Regional. On the 29th, the varsity covers the Plano East game and then has area the next morning. And then the JV covers the Flower Mound game while the varsity travels to San Antonio in the Alamo Dome for Bands of America San Antonio Super Regional prelims, finals on Saturday. And then for the varsity, UIL State runs that next Monday, Tuesday. For my drumline friends, we have a trip to PASIC, the Percussive Arts Society International Convention. That is on November 11th through 13th in Indianapolis. I know Ms. Chernow's been visiting with you all about that. And then I always, just in case, put a couple playoff games on there because Coppell's quite a good football team, so that way you can be aware that we have some potential playoff games coming up. Those were the approximate dates, and we work with students on those to make sure everybody can attend as much as we can. So you can see in total the varsity does 7 games and 7 contests. The JV does 4 games and 3 contests. I want to talk to you about auditions. Auditions are coming up next week, and so I wanted to say this, and a friend of mine shared this many years ago, and I kind of adapted it for us, but let me just talk you through a little bit about auditions and our role as parents. I mentioned to you earlier that I have an 8th grader. He just got his audition results, and so this is what I want to say from a band director's perspective. First and foremost, we care about your children very deeply. We're hired to give them the best musical advice and experience we can, and we have to assess them as best we can. Many of our students, especially right now, are working hard and practicing more now than they ever have been. I realize that as results begin to roll out, their emotions can cloud their judgment. Students' careers in music, just like all of our professional careers, are in a state of flux. There are times of rapid growth. There are times of slower growth. We understand that. Our role in the audition process, though, is to take a snapshot and to capture where they are in this one moment. We consider a whole lot of factors in placing your child in the right ensemble. We consider our prior experience with them in rehearsals, their grades, their visual abilities as marchers, to make sure that we put them in a place where they are challenged but not overwhelmed. Seniority, and it's so important that I say this, seniority in the program is never a factor in our decision. It's all about number 8 right there. It's becoming increasingly challenging to earn a spot in the varsity marching band and those top 4 concert bands. It's so important, and I would advise you this week as parents to begin having conversations with your child about what that's going to look like, and say, if you're placed in JV, how's that going to be, and what's that going to be like? If you earn a spot in varsity, what's that going to be like? To having those conversations with your kids in a non-emotional space so that when those results do roll, that they're able to face it courageously. We've had a very challenging year with regard to mental health, and I think as parents, this is one of those times where we need to step up and have these conversations with our kids. We would ask, once those results come out, if there's something that is maybe a little bit upsetting to them, allow your students to advocate for themselves first. If you send me an email as a parent and say, Mr. Miller, I didn't like this result, I'm going to say, I'm awaiting an email from your child. Please have them reach out to me, and we'll schedule a time to talk. They'll reach out to me, and with your child, I will go through and listen to their audition. We record all of them and talk to them about the scoring. If at the end of that they still have questions, you are absolutely welcome to reach out to me and schedule a time for you and I to talk. Generally speaking, when a child listens to the audition with me and has me explain, this is why you scored a 9 out of 10 on this chromatic scale, this is why you scored a 28 out of 30 on this particular excerpt, they have a very clear understanding of how the rubric works, how they're graded, and that it's as transparent and fair as we can possibly make it when it comes to adjudicating this many students. With regard to audition results, we'll have them posted the last week of classes, and if there's any major changes that need to take place, your child's counselor will be in touch. If you're not already enrolled in private lessons, this is the wake-up call. We need to have all of our students in private lessons. Lessons aren't for students who are struggling. Lessons are for enrichment, and 95% of our students are engaged in lessons. Many of our students who start with us in JV have a strong desire to move into varsity, and they always ask me, what can I do to get into varsity next year? The simple answer is play your horn at the highest level. The musical playing part is the biggest key to that, and the enrichment offered through private lessons, and I'll even add summer lessons, are critical. So if you're not already acquainted with our private lesson staff, go to the Coppell Band website, click on lessons. It's about us and then lesson teachers. Find that lesson teacher. In some of the smaller studios, the lesson teacher is the same as maybe you had in middle school. In some of the larger studios, it may be a change in lesson teachers. I'd like you to begin making that transition. I think the easiest time to transition lesson teachers is in the month of June. And so begin that process for your child and set them up on the road to success. I don't ever like to see see a student be continually disappointed by audition results, especially when it ties back to, well, I'm not really doing the lessons, or I'm not practicing enough. It's a hard lesson for kids to learn, but we have to get them to that place to where they're practicing and taking this very seriously, because it's a big investment for the family to make. I have a couple more just notes to share with you. One of the concerns I sometimes hear is I'm worried about all this time in band, because I want my child, or I want, a student might say to me, to focus heavily on my academics. And I said this earlier in our presentation, but this is a dangerous and very outdated paradigm when you look at college admissions data, especially over the last couple of years with the suspension of standardized testing. Back when, as I'm the age of many of the parents here, and back when we were in school, the only thing that colleges could look at were GPA and test scores. That's all the data they had. But nowadays, these colleges have vast amounts of data on our kids. They know a ton about, and if you think that the highest ranked GPA or that's going to get your child in, statistically, it won't. They have to have something else. A child can't come to a campus at the high school level and just take classes and expect a university to roll out the red carpet. They have to give back. They have to have some aspect where they played a part in the community that was vital to that community, because that's what the top tier universities see in our students. And so my advice to you is just to make sure that you don't get trapped in that race of, it's all about the highest GPA. It's all about, the highest standardized test scores. It's not. Those things are helpful. They might get your foot in the door, but really closing the deal and really settling and finding that super high-end university that's the perfect fit for your child is not going to happen with grades alone. It's got to be accompanied by something else. And so it's my hope that this is if you're still in that more outdated paradigm, that you take a second to reassess and talk to some folks, talk to some college counselors, talk to some admissions folks, and they'll help set you straight on what modern college admissions look like. Some students ask me, Mr. Miller, can I do band and athletics or AP classes, choir, debate, act deck? And we're proud to have students in every activity. Don't feel like, especially your freshman year, it's not the time to make a choice. It's the time to try some things and find where your home is going to be. And if you go out and say you're a football player and you play football and do the marching band, JV marching band, when you get to the end of that and it's February and you're getting ready to move on with band and move on with football, and you talk with your coaches, talk with your band directors, we can help steer you from an informed place, because now we know you and we know the best fit for you. And that's ultimately what we want. Again, we talk about top tier college admission. You have to be engaged in something. When I see students drop everything to just put, we use the expression, put all their eggs in one basket, right? When I see them do that, I just go, boy, I hope you're right, that you're gambling with your future. It's not something that I would tell you to do. I think that our students are the leaders in a lot of these organizations, which I think is great. But I also think it's really important that we allow our students to find their place and to allow their talents that they've been blessed with to come to fruition as they enter their freshman year. I sometimes hear students talk to me about new tech and go, how does that work with band? And we have about 18 students in band who are currently in new tech. And Dr. Baddick, principal there, and Mr. Kennington, if you haven't met him, the counselor, are incredibly supportive of our new tech band students. And they're going to be real helpful with you on that journey. But have no fear, it works great. We have tons of students who have become leaders in our program who have gone through new tech rather than the CHS side, and it all works great. How long, boy, Mr. Miller, you spent a lot of time talking about marching band. How long is it? Well, the odd thing about it is marching band is really only the first 9 weeks plus a little bit. The second, third, and fourth 9 weeks are what we would generally refer to as concert season. How do students meet during concert season? Well, just like you did in middle school, you'll generally go once per week to a like instrument sectional to work on your all-region music, to work on concert literature, things like that. And so I would divide the year like this. July through November is marching season. November to December is all region and our winter concert. December through February, we do an ensemble festival, a chamber music festival, and our midwinter concert. February through April is concert and sight reading, and then April through June is our spring concert and our solo festival, which is going to be this coming Saturday on the 15th. and then we begin preparing for next year. Or if you have a guard performer, July through November is marching season, and and December is our winter guard preparation. December through April is winter guard season, and then April through June, again, back around to marching preparation. What do the sectionals look like, Mr. Miller, in the second, third, and fourth 9 weeks? Well, kind of like this. This was one from a couple years ago. But on Mondays afternoon, I met with the flutes and clarinets and oboes. And on Tuesday afternoons, I met with the trumpets and horns in my band. And on Wednesday morning, I met with the saxes and low reeds. Thursday morning, I met with low brass. And Friday afternoon, I met with percussion. We work with our students to find what their other activities are and make sure that we plan really carefully to make sure that we can get every student in a sectional for at least, as you can see, 45 minutes to an hour once a week. Same thing for the winter guard. Mr. Rummel generally works on Tuesdays, Thursdays with the guards, and you can see JV and varsity winter guards are right there. For percussion, Mr. Turner and Mr. Wynn kind of have a schedule broken down by which ensembles they're playing with for purely rhythmic and march, and then going forward from there, what bands they're in and things like that. And so it varies, but you can generally, a couple of hours probably outside of the school day each week. They're going to have a short rehearsal before or after school. Let's talk about fees. For JV, the new student fee generally sits about $650 plus some necessary items. For varsity, it sits a little bit higher. Let me break those down for you. There's the band fee. It covers everything. We are not a program that aims to nickel and dime and constantly email you about, we need a check for $10 and a check for $20. We don't. We aim to be pay one at the beginning of the year, and we're covering everything. Your accompanist, your entry fees, any things that you need through there. As a new member, there's some other things to tack on there, like your marching shoes, T-shirts, your Under Armour, which is like your under uniform compression gear, your dry cleaning fee because you want a clean smelling uniform. Your meals, the meal deal crew here is incredible. They take care of all your meals, making sure that you're well fed for games and contests, your gloves, and so that's where our subtotal generally sits. For our varsity students, there are some BOA travel fees tacked on. I don't have that calculated yet, but we'll generally get that to you here in the next week or two. And then if you have a school-owned instrument fee, just like you did in middle school, you'll do the same thing with your $150. And it's not, if you're borrowing multiple instruments, it's not per instrument. It's just if you borrow an instrument, you pay for the year. And that makes sure that we can get those instruments chem cleaned at the end and set to issue to the next student. Now, this bottom line is so important. I probably should have made it bigger and in bold. Scholarships are available through our care team. It is so critical that we never allow the cost of the activity to dissuade you from being a part of the band program. Every year we budget for tons of scholarships, and every year there are still some scholarship dollars that go unused by the end. So please reach out to the care team. If as you're looking at this list, you're feeling like you may need some help on this, please don't hesitate. You can pay at band registration the whole fee. You can set up an installment plan, or if you would like to talk with the care team about scholarships, you can email me now, and I'll forward that on, and we'll get you in there. And then as we're having meetings in August, we'll schedule one with you. It's entirely confidential. They're very discreet about how they handle it. It's done incredibly professionally, but we want to make sure that cost is never a reason that you're struggling with the band decision. Our band booster board is incredible. Our board was elected in just last week, I think that was. Yeah, it was last week. Our board presidents, it's a co-presidency between Sue Messel and Preeti Sharma. They're both trumpet moms. Sue will have a senior next year, and Preeti will have a sophomore next year. Carmen Hernandez-Zhang, she's a clarinet mom, and her daughter will be a junior next year. She'll be our vice president. Our treasurer team has been in place for many years now. We've had Renu Sethi and Holly Newsom, and Ashu Goval joined them this past year, and that's a great team to take care of all your fees and all of the expenses of the program. Annika joined us this year as our secretary, did a great job, and she's back again. Carissa joined us as parliamentarian, and she's back again. We're fortunate to have two sets of past presidents who will have kids around our program, and that's Barrett and Allison Clark and John and Amanda Frazier, who both served as presidents past terms. And then freshman liaison. The freshman liaison is especially many of you are freshmen here, your best point of contact, and Vani will be taking on that role, and you'll start getting some emails and hear more about that as we get further into the summer. The boosters did this kind of quick start guide. There's some great things I want to share with you from this. I'll speak from the booster perspective. But what the boosters do is contribute thousands of volunteer hours year round, funds about 20% of the band's budget. Why? Because they want to engage in their kids' education. They want to help us reach the highest levels, and we want to keep the dues as low as we can. The things you can do now: download the calendar or check it out and make sure that you have it. Watch for director emails. You'll start receiving band director emails here in just a couple of weeks, but you get them every Sunday, and then the boosters do a Wednesday weekly with additional information. There's also a JV and a freshman newsletter there. You can see that as number 5 on the list. Band registration, I've already talked about. And the band boosters meet on the second Tuesday of each month at 7:30 p.m. They meet in the band hall, but also we post the meetings to Facebook Live. So if you're not able to get up to the school, no worries, you can watch it there. There are tons of volunteer opportunities. I'm going to pause here to say that I think you as a parent are going to want to engage in these 4 years before your child goes off to college. I have to stress that. I know that sometimes our kids act like they're too cool for us and they don't want us to hang around, but I am telling you, being a part of this, I was thinking about a dad several years ago I had who shared with me how amazing of an experience it was for him to be on the field. I took a picture of him and his daughter on the field at the state marching contest because he was helping move props on the field. But to be a part of your child's experience these last 4 years before they launch into college, to engage in something they love in, it's just so important. So don't hold back and don't be shy. Everybody's new at it, and so just come on and dive in. We need helps at home games with handing out water to kids as they come by, or helping serve them meals. We need helps with uniform, and we need concessions parents to come out and work the concession stands. We need chaperones. There's so many just little things that you can engage in that are going to bring the band family closer together. We staff concessions year round. We are the concessions at the Coppell High School Stadium. We host contests for WGI, for Winter Guard, and solo things. What we would ask, and I want you to start thinking about this now, is that every family, not every family member, every family sign up for 8 hours. So when you come to registration, there's going to be a whole list of things you can sign up for, and it's going to have hours on each one. Sign up for some stuff. Try some different things your first year. Just like we're telling your child, dive in and try these things. As a parent, we need to lead by example. And that's sign up for a couple of things and see what you can do. Join the logistics team and help us load and unload some stuff. Jump in with uniforms especially if you have some sewing abilities. We'd love to have you help over there. Take on a committee role with setting up the banquet or hosting things like that. There are so many opportunities. Please don't hold back, and please don't be shy. Just come out and dive in. I promise everybody is super friendly and they would love to work with you. We're going to have some contact stuff coming out through Charms. Some of you use Charms a lot at your middle school, others a little bit less. No worries. I'm going to reset all your Charms passwords once they migrate over to CHS. And then when that happens, I'll ask you to go in and just update all of your stuff, your email address, all those things to make sure that we're all good. Our website, you can see the header there, and you can reach out to our freshman liaison at that email. Volunteers there. You can see there's the volunteer link in that little kind of salmon colored square on the website. And you can always reach out to the band booster presidents. Those are sustaining addresses, so they're real easy to use. My last notes, marching band physicals. Physicals are required for marching band. You have to do them. They're good for 2 years. So if you haven't had one, and I'll tell you, a lot of our students with everything that's been going on have not had one. So if you want to, please engage in getting your physical done. That form I will link to you in an email here in the next week or so. It's also located on our website. You'll bring that to your doctor's office. It's very simple. If you would rather do it through some of our local vendors, I'll plug Trusted ER because they're one of our sponsors. You can go see Trusted ER, and they are more than happy to help you out with low-cost physicals. But we do want to make sure there are no heart conditions, no any of those kind of things as we're getting into marching band, to make sure that every student in our care is very safe. If your children wear regular traditional eyeglasses, I do hear from a lot of parents as they're maybe making doctor appointments over the summer, if they are thinking about doing either transitions lenses or switching to contact lenses, this is a good time to do it, just because, again, especially with JV, the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning, that sunrise is right in their faces. And if they don't have a good way to protect their eyes, they're going to go to second, third, and fourth period with headaches every day. They're going to call you every day and tell you they have a headache. So please, I trust me, my eye doctors in the crowd will nod their heads up and down. We have to protect our kids' eyes with sunglasses. So I want to just throw that out there to make sure that we have a plan for that you're talking with your kid about that. Our website, I've plugged many times, is as comprehensive a source as you can find to get everything you need. We do share videos of the marching band shows. We'll let you know. At first, they're pretty private. We'll share them with you, but we'll ask you not to share them out super wide until we get further into the development process and we're ready to release them to the world. But we appreciate you being patient with that. But you will get to see them if for some reason you're not there, or if Grandma and Grandpa live out of town or out of the country. You can share it with them, but let's just be careful to say don't share it, to public social media sites. There are some discussion boards about band, just like there are about sports and everything else. You could find long debates about soccer and people who are very passionate about things. Well, people act that way about marching band too. And so I know those sites are out there like TX Bands and the Yellow Board and stuff. And I would just say to you, as a parent and as a student, please don't engage. You're welcome to read it all you want, but I don't want to have to go in and filter things or have people reach out to me and say that I need to go have comments taken down that were made that were not appropriate. We want to make sure that we are always consummate supporters of the community at large, the artistic community in Texas, and so that means always just being positive and not tearing others down or not engaging in banter that may not be appropriate. I want to tell you a little bit about initiation. That sometimes is a scary word. We envision college and fraternity initiations, and it's not that at all. Our section leaders with our new members will often schedule a day during the summer where they'll get together and they'll play some games. They'll usually have a meal. They'll usually make some T-shirts and all kinds of adorable things like that. The section leader will reach out to you as a parent via email and say, hey, we're going to be having it on this day. Would you feel comfortable with your child participating? They'll cover exactly how it all works. We have a parent there to supervise. They run their plan through the band directors. It's all very safe. It just sometimes that word is a little triggering, but we don't mean for it to be. It's just an opportunity for your kid to get to know some of the older people in the section. And the kids who do it generally have a lot of fun participating. But it's all parent supervised, and it's all, the kind of little silly camp games that you might play and some of those little togetherness activities that allow them to get to know one another, which we think is great. Your students, I know many of them are set right now to have their permissions. They have to ask your permission to download an app, which is great. The app they need, if they don't already have it, is called GroupMe. That is our communication tool for students. Just like some teachers use Remind 101, we don't really use Remind because for my T-Mobile users out there, it tends to charge you per message, and we don't like to be responsible for that. GroupMe is a little bit cleaner in that regard. So if your child hasn't done so already, they need GroupMe, and every section has a GroupMe. There's a trumpet GroupMe and a flute GroupMe and a color guard and a percussion one, and they're all supervised by a band director. But those official GroupMes are an opportunity for us and for the leadership inside the section to share reminders and things like that. Trust me, it'll save you a lot of hassle. So again, as far as GroupMe goes, just make sure your child has the app downloaded, and we'll get them all added. If you have questions, shoot me an email, gmiller@coppellisd.com. And as well, you can email any of my colleagues, and they're happy to help you. Thank you again for joining me, and I hope you have a great rest of your school year. We look forward to having your kids join us next year. Thank you.